You're listening to the ADHD Heroes Podcast, a podcast where we speak with the heroes of the ADHD community, namely educators, mental health professionals, and of course, those with ADHD themselves, to gain insights, tools, and most importantly, inspiration towards succeeding and thriving with ADHD. I'm your host, Rabbi Shmuel Reich, a high school Rebbe and an ADHD coach in private practice. Welcome to the show. Hi there, and thank you for joining us on this introductory episode of the ADHD Heroes Podcast. Today, I would like to explain what the goal of the podcast is, as well as how I plan to structure it to achieve that goal. As I mentioned in the intro, the purpose of this podcast is threefold. Number one, to share insights. Number two, tools. And number three, inspiration towards succeeding and thriving with ADHD. Let's take a moment to describe each of these in a bit more detail. Number one, insights. ADHD, as the name clearly indicates, affects attention and hyperactivity. However, it also affects many other behaviors, such as management of time, controlling strong emotions, and many organizational skills. In the category of insights, we will seek to gain knowledge about the many different areas of skill and of life in general that are impacted by ADHD. In fact, I once had a client who, after the first session or two in which we discuss the wide-ranging impact of ADHD, told me he no longer saw the sessions to be necessary. After all, he no longer felt guilty and was able to identify the source of his challenges, and at the moment, they weren't so disruptive other than the guilt they were causing him. Category 2. Tools. There can be all sorts of different tips and strategies for navigating different challenges relevant to ADHD. Different guests will share the strategies that have worked for them or their clients on different occasions. Hopefully, you can either use some of these directly or adapt them accordingly to your own circumstances. One example, I once announced to my class to get books from their lockers. I looked over at a student whom I knew has ADHD, and it was clear from his eyes that he hadn't heard me. It was also clear from his actions that he hadn't heard me. Knowing what to look for and knowing what to do made none of this a problem. I simply went over to him and said, "Hey, we're getting our notebooks. Want to get yours?" "Sure," he said. And finally, number 3, inspiration. So what do Bill Gates, Albert Einstein, and Michael Jordan all have in common? You guessed it, they all have ADHD. Many individuals with ADHD figure out how to succeed navigating their own ADHD-related challenges, sometimes on their own, other times with the help of mentors or professionals. Others with ADHD take things a step further. They learn to use their ADHD-related strengths to thrive, not despite their ADHD, but rather because of it. Hearing the stories of both of these groups of people can give us inspiration that it is possible to succeed and thrive with ADHD, not only despite it, but even leveraging it. The way I plan to structure the podcast in order to do this is by interviewing those who I call the heroes of the ADHD community. This includes professionals such as educators, therapists, and coaches, as well as those with ADHD themselves. Hearing their stories, experiences, and observations will hopefully give us the insights, tools, and inspiration we seek. Additionally, there will be some episodes in which I share my own musings, observations, and experiences through my career, both teaching in a high school classroom and as an ADHD coach in private practice. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I look forward to learning and being inspired together. Thank you again for listening to this episode of the ADHD Heroes Podcast. For questions about the podcast, you can email us at adhdheroespodcast@gmail.com. Also, for sponsorships or to share your story, your ADHD story, you can also email us at the same place, adhdheroespodcast@gmail.com. To be in touch with me about ADHD coaching, writing or speaking engagements, you can email me at rsreichadhdcoach@gmail.com. Be sure to check out my website, rsreich.com, adhdcoach.com. You can follow me on LinkedIn, or you can check out my blog on nefesh.org. Check out my blog there under my name. Important disclaimer: podcasts are great, but they do not take the place of mental health help or medical help. So if you need help with mental health or need a doctor, be sure to be in contact with some of them. Please, if you like this show, please rate, review, and share with a friend. That's how these things get out there. Thank you again for listening, and thank you to our producers at Pretty Easy Podcasts.